stuck with that goal. Just be present to right now and just give your 100% for whatever that you're doing right now. And then, the next opportunity will show up. And who knows, the next opportunity might be that big jump.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, because thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Welcome back second time. And we actually now stay quite close to each other, nearby Westlake, Vietnam. If anyone is around, you pop up in where I am staying or in Somerset, maybe we're gonna see each other in person. And today we are here for a very exciting and empowering journey that our team had a chance to work with Dr. Ramesh over the last years, with the thing I'm holding on my hand here.
Yes.
And you probably can see that it's in Vietnamese. And if you are like a foreign friend, then we do have also the English version. This is the very first, that's awesome. Thank you. This is the very first foreign author that our team has had a chance to work with, to bring their wisdom of 30, 40 years of experiences into this particular, thing that you can hold on your hand. Or maybe we're going to do like, audio, so you can also listen to it. And today we are here together to actually listen to the live book, Dr. Ramesh. So let's share with us your big jump of coming to this journey of life. And then we're going to dig a bit deeper into how you translate it into your big jump into entrepreneurship book.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I guess when you asked me what was my big jump into entrepreneurship, you want to know how I got started, right?
Yeah, that's could be nice. Yeah.
And I've got
time we had an interview with you, and I think today we particularly focus on the theme of the big jump. And it is how we can learn more about how people can actually do their big jump by taking small steps. This is a little bit hint for anyone who listening to it right now, because our intention today is to really let you to take that big jump. And I know I'm interrupting Dr. Ramesh, because I try to set the context, and it was very interesting. Just 1 hour ago, I was chatting with, let's say, my very dear brother, a friend, teammate. We can call all the things all in one, as a person that I really adores. And he told me that I am making a change every day, and I'm waiting for the big jump. And then I said like, oh, you are selling the book of Dr. Ramesh for me. I said, and he's just laughing. And then I sent the picture of Dr. Ramesh, our team, to him. And I said like, this is the big jump of our team, bringing this book to Vietnam. So I just think like the universe is so beautiful, right? Where we can have that kind of connection through words or ideas, and especially if we can do a big jump together. So I'm looking forward to everyone who is listening to it right now today can actually set an intention today that you can make a decision to do a big jump in your way. And we have Dr. Ramesh to join us. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. So thank you very much for, first of all, taking on the project of translating, supporting me to actually publish the translated copy of the Big Jump into Entrepreneurship into Vietnamese language. And I think it's a great opportunity for me, because I realize, having lived here in Vietnam now for the last 2 years, that Vietnamese people love to read in Vietnamese. There's nothing like seeing their own language and reading it. So if I had aspirations of being of bringing my message out to Vietnamese people, there was no doubt in my mind that it had to be published in Vietnamese language. So thank you once again for you and your team for your excellent work in supporting me to get this book here today, ready to be launched. And the second piece I wanted to talk about was just to, share a little bit about the philosophy of what a big jump means. And most times people think that a big jump is about, and this was my first book that I published 20 years ago. Like, you have to climb this big wall and you're right on top and you're going to jump down, right? And in reality, you don't, because what happens is that you take one small step and another small step and another small step. And then before you know it, you come to the top and then you jump, and that becomes the big jump. So don't be scared, right, about the big jump, because it's in our power. If we are people who are constantly interested to learn and to apply the learning, we are going to be making the big jump. Then, just hang in there. That's what you need, the discipline.
So, what was the biggest jump in your life?
Ah, are you talking about in terms of starting a business or in any area of my life?
Yeah, let's start with a bigger concept or a
Yeah.
bigger context.
I think the biggest jump that I made was 2 years ago to move to Vietnam and to live here, because I used to travel a lot for work, and I was away from Singapore maybe 3 weeks in a month. But moving to another country is something else altogether, because you have to close up your place in Singapore, and then you come here, and then you have to be ready to make new friends, and you have to be ready to make this your home, your new home. So that takes commitment. It takes also in my case, I moved with my family and my colleagues, so they all had to participate, and we had to support each other. And sometimes also, Jen, it had been difficult for us because we didn't know Vietnamese, and so we couldn't integrate completely and quickly enough. And so that was our big jump, and I think we've made that. And
Yeah, you made it. Yeah.
yeah, we've made
Even
that.
you have this one as a physical thing that people can actually hold it and feel it, and probably can call the names of the steps that create that big jump for you. So, did you fall during that big jump?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of
What was
the
that
big,
biggest falling down, and then that become like stone to stepping up?
right. So my biggest fall, right, in the different big jumps that I've taken in the course of my life, because at different periods in your life, a big jump shows up differently. And that was when I was in my 30s, and I had started my first technology company, and I was going to list it in the stock exchange. And everything was ready. I mean, we've done the prospectus, we've done the roadshow, done a series of interviews, and I was just waiting to launch it. And then the IPO didn't happen. And the worst part was some of the interviews that I'd done for the listing were coming out, into the newspapers. And there was one which said, Asia's most influential woman, and they said Ramesh Ramachandra. And at that point in time, I was actually in an office trying to close down the business. So it was very difficult to deal with it, because now my failure became very public, because everyone wanted to interview me for that article, but but I experienced I was a failure since the company had closed down. And being able to actually share with people why I experienced that failure and what it was all about was actually the biggest fall in that big jump. But what I discovered was that when you can be open about your failure, actually it does not have the power to stop you. It gives you the freedom to start the journey again. And so by being able to tell people that I had failed, it gave me the impetus to start once again and get back into the game.
Lovely. So actually, we didn't ask you yet, but you already answered the how to get back on and turn the failure, what we call, to become like momentum to move forward. So it was like something that you didn't experience or didn't expect, and it happened. And then you had a mechanism to actually turn it around, or how was it processed? Because I think like when you describe like it now, we probably think like it's like a switch. And probably it can become a switch later on, but at that moment it might probably like a journey. And for all of us, I think we really need to practice that
Yeah.
before we can turn it anytime we fail. Yeah.
Yeah, so it actually starts off with what I will call as awareness. And it's an awareness that, right now I am experiencing a setback or a failure. And you become aware of it by not blaming yourself and getting upset and angry, but just realize that, oh, I had a business and now, the business has to close down. And just registering that as a fact allows us to start to think a little bit more deeply about what is next. And what next is usually, the ability to see that there were many things that I did or I did not do that contributed perhaps to that failure. And to be able to say that, because often when we are dealing with a setback or failure, um, we try to blame others or the situation, and we don't want to take personal responsibility. But in my experience and in my years of coaching, what I've discovered is that when you can take personal responsibility for something and like personal ownership, right, then it becomes easier to be able to move ahead and to let go of the upset and the emotions around that failure. And then, of course, once you have done these first two steps, which is awareness and acceptance, the third step is actually getting into action, because now you're free to start taking new actions for a new future. But this is probably the most challenging part, because when we fall, we also lose our confidence, right? And if we don't have a good support structure around us, like a good network of friends and people who are there like cheerleaders to lead us on, we may actually give up on our dreams. And so I was lucky. I had, my family and friends who cheered me on. And so even if it was not for me, right, at least not to disappoint them, I picked myself up and I started the journey again.
It's
And then the last piece is, if you continue to take these new actions, after a while, it becomes the new reality. And then you have self-actualized and gone to another stage in your life.
Wow, I can see that actually did you intentionally use the word A to start the framework? It's like awareness. Actually, I like to see the honest part that you said. It was like appreciation. So you appreciate that you had that opportunity. Maybe you didn't expect, but it turned out to be like opportunities, and aware of that, and accept it and then take action upon it. And then accountability, which is having people around you and actualize the new reality, which is beautiful. So if anyone who listening to it right now, you can see actually that probably can be like a journey that we can practice together when we fall down. actually we've realized that it's like we fall to the heaven. We never know if we do like Ramesh did. And uh, I was seeing that you was talking about IPO and some term that if any friend who is listening to it right now, probably in the entrepreneurship spirit or context, probably see the IPO as a part or like a big jump for them, right? If you want to call that. If we use a theory from starting to then list publicly. So do you think that everyone should actually, if they are an entrepreneur, they need to define that big jump in that kind of way of IPO, or what would be the like choice of the big jump in entrepreneurship?
Well, first of all, I want to say that when you take that big jump into entrepreneurship, what you would discover, and if you do, right, it's really beautiful, is that entrepreneurship is a way of life because it really gives you freedom to create the life that you want. Now, for each one of us, it can be different, that life that we want. For some of us, we want to be very accomplished in an achievement focused, and maybe also we have the opportunity to go and list the company in the stock market. So then go ahead and do it. And for some of us, we want to keep it small. I mean, I've been to really some great restaurants in some parts of the world where they only serve, what they have in the kitchen. And if it is sold out, they don't, have any more customers. And that's so satisfying as well. And people stand in queues to try that food, right? So you choose the game you want to play in entrepreneurship. That's number one. And never be bothered or worry about what others are doing because it's really your journey. And I know
Or if
it's
you
really
bother, maybe because you don't like have that awareness of what you truly want, right? That's why you still like feeling lack of something or not right. Yeah.
correct. Correct. Because when we talk about entrepreneurship, right? Or being an entrepreneur, it's about being a person who is resourceful, which means that you are able to look at any problems that come at you and you know how to sort that out, right? Two is you're someone who is able to manage risk and uncertainty. And three is you're creating value. So value is not just financial. It can be value in terms of what you contribute to community, to society. It can be value not just to yourself, but to others. And so therefore, the range of things that you can create is really up to you. You can define that game.
Yeah, lovely. I think like today it's so interesting where you name some words that I also kind of listen here and there in one or another format where you talk about the choices, and you also mentioned on the awareness that if they are aware that they choose this because of the values or because of something maybe we call a mission or purpose, or some people will probably call a passion, or some people call it calling, and this is a choice to really like sign up for it and then find the kind of mechanism that we feel that alive, right? And you mentioned on the concept like small but beautiful. We even had a book on that. Somehow you are in the entrepreneurship journey, like there's some kind of format where people say small but beautiful. As Ramesh said, like, okay, we just sell this particular hour and then this particular product, and that's it. So, but some people they want to go big. So we have maybe one of our friends who is listening to it right now. Maybe you know him. He wants to be an entrepreneur where he can do everything in life and people know it, and it influence on the resources or the values of his business. So that's why he wants us transparent in his entrepreneurship journey as a influencer person, and that's why he wants to do IPO. So everyone has different kind of choices, but it's about our choice, and we sign up for it and we live up to it, right? We go a little bit on the Big Jump book, right? So you talk about your big jump in your life and the big jump in entrepreneurship, and then we have the Big Jump book. Does this book has any link with the two things that you just mentioned just now? The big jump to go to Vietnam or the big jump into entrepreneurship with the IPO experience?
I'm not sure, I get your question, but are you asking whether the
That,
book,
yeah, the book has something to do with the big jump experiences as you just mentioned right now, or it's coming from different thing? Yeah.
right? I guess, the book is something that I wanted to do specifically because I wanted to reach out to the Vietnamese audience. I've been coming to Vietnam from 1998, so it's a long time. I see, for me, Vietnamese people are very entrepreneurial naturally, and yet at the same time, they are hungry for information from different parts of the world and to see what they can do. And so I just wanted to share my journey and some of the things that I did, which did not work out, so that they can learn from that, and some of the things that I did which worked, and to see how we can create a better format or a platform for people to be able to take their big jump into entrepreneurship. Because, today we are living in a world which gives us a lot of technology that makes entrepreneurship easier at one level, which is because it's got the digital component to it. So you can start an e-commerce platform or some business very easily, and be in business, or even be part of the gig economy as a Grab driver or something like that. But on the other hand, when you come to a place like Vietnam, you see, that you've got provinces and you've got places where it's still developing. And even the basic services like a laundromat or a supermarket or a barber shop, these basic services are very much needed. And so entrepreneurship can even be at that basic level where you start one of those businesses and you provide a service to people who want to also feel connected, that they have access to that, especially in the mountainous areas or in the rural parts of the country. And so entrepreneurship will give people opportunity to progress and to be able to also enjoy what the rest of us take for granted, because we live in an urban society where we have, internet and other conveniences which are very comfortable for us.
So you actually tap on that's kind of what like entrepreneurship, right? So if we go into this book a little bit deeper, actually, maybe if we just understand the entrepreneurship as start a business, that normally I think quite common for people to relate. But you also mentioned on the spirit and the entrepreneurship in this book in a very beautiful way, where anyone, as you just mentioned just now, but maybe you can even share a little bit more on how you define that entrepreneurship in the macro level or in a daily basis as a way of life, that every one of us, no matter what we do, we are a banker, we are an entrepreneur, or we are a teacher, we are a farmer, we can actually still take that jump into entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really related to what I call as the entrepreneurial mindset. So it's a way of thinking, and it's a thinking around problems, because in life things show up which we didn't expect, we didn't want, right? And we have to deal with it. So what are we going to do? Are we going to give up? Are we going to run away, right? Or just freeze? or are we going to do something about it? And usually, when we are dealing with a problem or a setback, the first thing that we need to be able to do is to spend enough time to understand what is the real problem. And I think that's actually the issue, that most of us don't spend enough time to discover what is the real problem. So therefore, what happens is that we then go and solve the wrong problem. If we spend enough time, right, we'll actually get half the problem solved. So that's the first thing. So that's the first piece of being resourceful. The second piece is about our ability to deal with risk. And there are some of us who can't deal with risk. Okay, we are risk averse. And I think it's important to know that, to recognize that, because if we then became an entrepreneur and we had to deal with that piece, it'll be very torturous for us. So then what we can do is to start to mitigate that risk by understanding, okay, things like forecasting and other aspects which business planning will allow us to minimize the risk, right? Or even partner up with other people so that we have the ability to feel that there is a togetherness in that venture that we are building. The second part of managing risk is also being able to deal with uncertainty. Now, this is actually a very important point for all of us because we don't realize this, but we are changing every second. Our body is changing every second. In fact, life is impermanent. We think and we relate to life like it's permanent, but it is not. So if we get that message, right, we can then see that, hey, actually, I'm dealing with uncertainty all the time. So why am I so uncomfortable? Right? It's like connecting the dots to see that actually we are living that uncertain life already. But it's just that we are attached to the status quo. We are attached to the comfort of what we think is our current life.
Yeah.
Right? So my advice to people in that situation is try and put ourselves in some situation where we need to change something. Maybe go for a course, learn something new. Maybe, try something else, which is out of our comfort zone. So that's how we start to get the muscle to deal with uncertainty. And the last piece is actually also very important. It is about creating value. So it's not about earning money, but it's about creating value. And this is interesting because how do we want to create value? This is a question we want to ask ourselves. If I was in entrepreneurship just to make money, believe me, I would have listed my company 20 years ago. But I didn't. I was not in there just to make money. And therefore, the choice that I made to close down the business was related to that. And so you see that, in your journey of entrepreneurship, our values become very important because the decisions that we make are based on those values. And like you pointed out earlier, if we know our purpose, that's even better because it's our North Star and that will direct us. And sometimes we may not know our purpose, and that's okay. We can find a course or read books that can support us to discover what is our purpose. So value, right? Understanding what is the value is almost like, what is it that I want to leave in the world when I'm gone? Is it money, pots and pots of money? Or is it some impact, right? That people can say that, oh, my life has changed because of this thing. And it could be an invention that you had that changed people's life. Or it could be that, a philosophy that you brought that made people's life easier. So when we understand more about value, that's where we can actually live a life whereby we experience accomplishment and fulfillment, even if we're not a millionaire, right? Because every day we can find meaning in that thing that we have done, the time that we have spent with people. And I think that is a very important piece to
Yeah,
create the
thank you.
value.
I just think like sometimes we caught up on the term, and then when we understand the essence of that, it is like we can just practice the essence. So as you said, the entrepreneurial mindset, you, if you think that, okay, I'm not an entrepreneur, so Dr. Ramesh, so I don't need to do that big jump. Okay.
No,
And
no, you can
it's
do
just like,
all this.
yeah, it's just like sometimes we just caught up into that like resistance of something. So maybe it's a sign that we know that actually here it's like any one of us can actually tap into that potential by giving us that chance in that kind of uncertainty, beautiful thing that we actually doing every day. And with the mindset of, as you said, like being resourceful and whatever we do, no matter what is our job. So I think it's so beautiful that actually if somebody who has a chance to really hold this book on hand, don't really feel that I'm not an entrepreneur, like by having a business, but thinking about I have an entrepreneur as having my life. So I think
Yes.
that's very beautiful way to break it down, and everyone can actually do something about it, and take a small step by every day, find a meaning, as you said, in what we do. And if we gain clarity by having more dots to connect, then maybe one day we have what we call a purpose, or one day we have what we call like mission or calling. And I think now we move to a little bit on the question and answer part. This is very interesting. So, Dr. Ramesh, I know that you have done a lot of big jump. So, when we should do a big jump?
Anytime. Yeah, when you're failing, when you are succeeding, when you have free time, when you have no time, anytime.
So the question like, should we think about the big jump or should we do the small step?
Yeah, because remember, you're taking the small steps, and the
Mm.
big jump will just show up as you take the different steps.
So when is the time that we can start thinking about the next big jump?
I think, generally when you are doing something, you have a goal or an outcome in mind, and
Mhm.
that seems to be the big jump. And
Mm.
so you're taking these small steps to get there. And, you might have thought that it will take you 2 years or 3 years, but because you
Mm.
start to take the steps, it may come much sooner than that. So
Mm.
don't be stuck with that goal. Just be present to right now and just
Mm.
give your 100% for whatever that you're doing right now. And then, the next opportunity will show up. And who knows, the next opportunity might be that big jump.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just feeling like it keeps coming back to how we can actually live fully 100% in every moment that we choose, everything we choose, and then we gain that data or that clarity by having that experience, and then we can do the next decision or next step or next choice. And what is your next big jump? Wow, this is a nice question from our audience. Yeah.
Okay, so my next big jump is actually I'm waiting to launch this book, and I have another book coming up soon.
Okay, so this is like another big jump, like waiting for this one, right? And
Yes,
this book gonna be in April. Everyone,
yes,
if you are listening to it right now, we love to have you in April, and another book coming, right?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to launch the big jump into entrepreneurship in Vietnamese, the Vietnamese edition in April. And then maybe a few months later, I will launch a book, another book, which I think is also an important skill set to know in today's world. And that's about a crisis ready mindset,
Yeah, I'm looking
how to
forward
develop one.
to really like learn more about the crises that you you have, and we are going to probably also see some kind of share situation. So in the very recent coming book, The Big Jump, probably you know that we call like the Big Jump Into Entrepreneurship. But if everyone who is in here right now, Dr. Ramesh and us will really having a series of conversation on the Big Jump and Dr. Ramesh's book, The Big Jump Into Entrepreneurship. And the next one will be the Big Jump Into Crisis.
Crisis ready mindset.
And
Crisis
then the
ready
next one,
mindset.
yeah. And then this will be a series that where we can actually see that, as Dr. Ramesh has said, that we have continuous journey of doing our different jumps in our life. And maybe you call in different terms, but we feel like we actually work on that path together. And this book can be a friend on that journey. So we have another question from the audience. What is, let's say, the setting context that a person as a reader can turn the reading to become action most effectively?
Well, The Big Jump was written 20 years ago, originally after I trained a number of people, a few thousand people, together with my team on how to start and run a business. And I wrote this I wrote this with the intention that someone who reads it is going to do some activities and some thinking and an exploration in terms of where they are right now and where they want to go. So my advice is use this book as a guide, like a workbook. Take a pen or a pencil and write your notes. And as you go through the book, you will discover at the end of the book, are you going to be the 30% of the people who say, I'm going to start my business right now, and you already have a business plan? Or are you going to be 30% of the people who say, I'm never going to be an entrepreneur, and that's fine, but you see the value of an entrepreneurial mindset, and you can apply that in whatever area that you are involved in, whether it's social enterprise, or it is working for the government, or it's even, as a retiree or as someone who's a housewife. It doesn't matter, right? You can use those skill sets. Or it can be a 30% of the remaining people who say, you know what? I want to become an entrepreneur, but not now. I need to pay off my loan. I have to wait for my children to grow up. I need to move out, right? Blah, blah, blah. But they are interested. They're just waiting for the right time, for the right opportunity to start their business. So I'm not sure where you are, whether you are in bucket A, which is I'm going to do it right now, bucket B, never going to do it, or bucket C, yes, but later. So wherever you are, right, you will discover that. You will discover which place you are in.
Lovely. I think like one more time, we know that we have to really experience it by ourselves. And then we have our backgrounds, our belief, our mindset, and we gain the perspectives and some inspiration and also like wisdom and tools in the books. And then we can make the choice by whatever the combination of all of these things. And for sure, as Dr. Ramesh said, that if we have the community of people who actually like accountable for our potential, maybe we can kind of collectively make the choices together in a way where move us toward. So we have another very interesting question here. What is the one thing that you would rewrite in this book if you have a chance?
Looking back, right? I don't think I would rewrite anything. I'm grateful for my failures, especially for the failure that I had with my first technology company. Although soon after that, I decided that maybe staying small is beautiful rather than going big. But I learned so much about myself, and I learned all about, running a business that people would take 30 years to learn. And I learned it all in just 30 months. And part of that whole accelerated growth was from the fact that I raised a lot of money from different shareholders for that business. And usually when you raise money from investors, they are looking for an exit. And an exit is a trade sale or a M&A, a merger with some other company, or it could be a listing in the stock exchange. And when I look back, I think the only regret that I had is that I didn't realize that when I raised the money. Because sometimes you really don't need to raise money. You can, tighten the belt, discover the different ways to generate income, and you can grow the business organically. And maybe that would have given me greater control on how I wanted to grow the business. But do I regret doing it? No, I don't, because it's been a great learning lesson, right?
Yeah, I think you just like keep reinforcing on everything happens for us. You want to call it, and it's really about the mindset that how we actually conceptualize, integrate, or like transcend or perceive or whatever the word you want to call it, but interact with that thing comes to us. So it's beautiful to see like we actually can learn that you take every experiences that you have done as part of the journey of the big jump, and that makes you here today and share with us your many years journey in that very condensed book. Last time I remember you said like probably 2 or 3 hours of reading. I don't know, depend on how you want to read the book. Our readers who are listening to it right now, some people probably can take a bit longer. Some people can actually really focus and really like commit it fast. And the idea is to put it in action, right? So what would be the first action you think people should take right after reading the book that you think that would put them into the kind of big jump journey?
Well, if you've read the book and you're clear you want to become an entrepreneur, then do the business plan and share about this to other
Yeah.
people. Because the moment you share with other people, then you get committed. Because these
Mm.
people are going to come back to you the next time you see them and they'll say, "How's your business?"
Um,
And then you can't go like, "Oh, I haven't done anything," right?
yeah.
So that's the way to keep the commitment moving. If you're someone who read the book and you're not quite ready to start a business, but take the principles that were discussed in the business, apply it in your job, at your social enterprise, in your government organization, or even in your home, right? Because these things are relevant. And share with other people about how you can see that sense of freedom, the ability to create your own life is possible if you took on an entrepreneurial mindset. So above all, right, whether you start a business or not, I like you to actually take on an entrepreneurial mindset, because I think in the current time that we live in, which is a time of disruption, what's going to provide us a safety net is the way we think. And that way of thinking is, number one, an entrepreneurial mindset, and number two, a crisis ready mindset. And if you have these two, it doesn't matter what happens, you will really thrive.
Yeah, I love it. I think like you also create a very holistic framework for everyone where you mentioned on different kind of things that really, we would call like finally to help every one of us to experience the life in the way that the most like, let's say, meant for us. And reading books, attending programs, talking to people, sharing with people, taking that action and reflecting upon it, or resetting it. So we also know that Dr. Ramesh also has different kind of ways to really raise the awareness and to work with people in their big jump journey. We come to the very kind of, let's say, wrapping up today's conversation. Uh, to really wait for the next conversation, right? So we have some kind of question where we try to tap into different kind of things that you have around in Vietnam, particularly. So anyone who is in Vietnam can actually meet Dr. Ramesh in person, also can work with our process together, right?
Yes.
So can you share about what other things that you do around the book as a mechanism or the methods to support people in their awareness and their entrepreneurship or their
Okay.
big jump. Yeah.
Right. So of course, the first thing is we actually have a website called the Big Jump .vn,
I
right,
think
Jen?
probably our team will put in the chat or on the online so people can
Right.
actually see it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's there, and we have some articles, and we'll also have my podcast series being featured there. So you can get connected to other people who are change makers in entrepreneurship in different aspects of entrepreneurship, whether it's in venture building, Jen is featured, or whether it's in entrepreneurship directly as a corporate business, or it can be even in a social enterprise. Number two is that I'm going to be talking to universities and presenting different topics under entrepreneurship for students. And we are also discussing, Jen and myself, how we might get my 2-day how to start and run a business course launched in Vietnam so that people can come and do. But more importantly, my company, Talent Leadership Crucible and Impact Velocity, runs the SSCA class, which is the Sustainable Success for Collective Advantage. And it's a program where you actually get to see the system interconnectedness and interdependency so that you as an entrepreneur can see, what's your purpose? How do you want to create your business? And then get into that whole space of exploring it from a higher level. So there are many choices. Go to the website as a first step, and you will get to see what is it that you want to do, whether it's to read a book, come and attend one of the talks, come and attend one of the programs. Who knows, maybe we might bump into each other in the streets of Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City as well.
Yeah, sure. Like I just think like actually like you already share like a framework, holistic framework for every one of us who actually can design that program or that big jump for ourselves in our way. And during that journey, probably we pop up into each other and we can actually synergize what we do, which is exactly what our team has had a chance to be in this journey with Dr. Ramesh. I think in the journey of the Zen books, maybe we want to call like a big jump. Dr. Ramesh as a very first foreign author that we had a chance to work with. And I think that this jam for our team is a demonstration of the spirit that we have had chances to learn directly in person with Dr. Ramesh and her team, which we also have one of her team members here. So thank you for your dedication in general and to Vietnam. And I think Vietnam deserves that. Okay.
Yes,
Vietnam deserves that, right? There's so much
absolutely.
potential, and every one of us deserves something that we may not call it out yet, or maybe we can go as a big jump for ourselves. So I really like to wish to all of our listeners to do the big jump in their life, in their way, and maybe making this book as a friend in that journey. And for sure that Dr. Ramesh and what she has built in Vietnam, like here for you, if you are in Vietnam or online, we can, take that jump one step by going to the website or by going to the LinkedIn or by listening to this right now. So yeah, I think we want to really ask the audience one last question and also Dr. Ramesh the last question. We know that we're gonna meet each other in person, like in this April in the launching book day, uh, and I think people can ask more questions. But this is the one. What would be the last biggest jump in your life?
Oh
Oh my God!
dear.
Oh my God!
Well, it's a little bit premature. I mean, I'm only 58 years old. Okay, so I hope I've got another at least 30 years of
You
big
have like
jumps to
another
do,
15
right?
years in your life.
But one of the things that I've started to do recently is that although I'm still excited and looking at new ideas and projects, I've also started to consciously live and look at how I would actually choose these projects and spend my time if I knew that I was one day closer to death, right? So because then it shapes my focus.
Yeah.
Then it allows me to do the trade-off, because I've got family, I want to spend time with my mother, and and I want to create a new business. So how do I want to spend that time? And I think that's important, to finding that balance. And each one of us is going to find that balance differently. And also that balance is going to change at different stages of our life.
Yeah.
So, what I may share now, which is important to me, might not be important to you, but you can look for what's going to be important for you.
Yeah.
And that's really the key point. The point is, this is a journey that we are all taking together. We are creating our lives the way we want it. And so, be brave, be happy to just make that big jump.
Wow, beautiful. So you reinforce back on the awareness and our choices, and then every one of us has that power and that permission it will give us to do it. So we talk about the 5 second rule at the beginning of the podcast, and we turn it to become this way. So if you can give us five things, it can be 5 words, it can be 5 whatever, to end today, and make today conversation become a part of our lives, so we can do the big jump, we can do anything. What would be the 5 takeaways that we can bring home today together?
Stay calm. Be happy. Take the big jump.
Okay.
And get back into the game when you fail. And don't overthink.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for living it in your life and pass it to us. And thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation.
Yes.
Because when we co-create this conversation, we all actually live up ourselves to the next jump in our life in the way that we all meant to have it. So I'm very grateful for Dr. Ramesh and your work and your team, where we actually can meet you in person. And I'm very grateful to have everyone here online or in every single day. I think this is a gift, and we all deserve the big jump. So why don't we jump together? So
that's right.
everyone.
And Jen, before you sign off, I really want to thank you and the Gen Creators team, for your hard work and your great collaboration to making this happen. I've enjoyed the journey, and I hope I've contributed something. But I want to also tell you that you and your team have contributed something and enriched my life as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your mentorship, your friendship, your collaboration, your generosity. And thank you everyone to be here for us, so we can keep going together.
Yes, thank you everyone. See you soon.